What do we think of Pillion? Sweetest BDSM I'm ever seen. I'm Nick Cable with the Hollywood Reporter. Thank you all so much for being here. We've got a great panel, starting with Alexander Skarsgård. Harry Melling. And writer-director Harry Lighton. Love a full house. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Hi, guys.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
So, this is adapted from a novel. I'm curious what you can share about what excited you about adapting the novel, and then how you kind of wanted to make it your own this time.
Yeah, I think the novel's called Box Hill. It's set in the 70s, and it's worth reading because it is very different from the film ultimately. But what really excited me was the way in which, like, on a kind of sentence by sentence basis, I go from laughing to feeling like, you know, shocked or in some way outraged to then feeling like moved. It like shifted tone very, very quickly, and I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to try and put across into a film, and particularly a film about BDSM, which I think usually is the subject kind of approached through just one of those notes. It's usually just shock at the expense of kind of warmth or tenderness, and so yeah, that was kind of the initial spark of the novel, which excited me. And in terms of like the process of adapting it, the novel, the dynamic between Colin and Ray is totally static. I think there's like one instance in the novel where Colin pushes up against the boundaries which have been set, and it's just to like suggest that Ray changes his tie, and Ray tells him to piss off, and that's it. And I was much more interested in the idea of like, or in asking the question about when living in a role becomes unsatisfying for someone, and like how they push up against it and negotiate their own kind of like ideal relationship without compromising the bits of kind of strict on-site relationship which they do like.
What was your own research immersion into this world like? What were some key things that you learned that you wanted to incorporate, and also how did you want to incorporate the world into your movie?
I think, I've always been kind of interested in transgressive sex, and my first short film, which I made when I was like 19, was about a pair of twin brothers who go to a glory hole in the British seaside, and it's just remained a preoccupation of mine, I guess. In terms of the immersion on this, like, I wanted to like really get a grip on what the reality of like the strictest version of a dom-sub relationship could look like. And so I went and interviewed a bunch of people in those relationships, and it wasn't with a view to then, you know, wanting to like replicate the like totally transparently ethical version of that relationship on screen. I always knew that I wanted the relationship to not be like a blueprint of how you should practice BDSM kind of by the letter. I wanted there to be a kind of grey area to it in terms of whether like Colin is kind of finding fulfillment and self-advancement through this relationship, or he's kind of swapping one kind of suffocation of his parents for another with Ray. But I really wanted to have that understanding for myself of like how it could be practiced in real life, so I could then deviate from it. And then the other thing I did was go and spend a lot of time with a group called the GBMCC, who are they're called GBMCC, Gay British Motorcycle Club, and it's like a group of queer bikers, and you know, not all of them are also into like the leather scene and the kink scene, but a fair number of them are, and yeah, I kind of rode Pillion with them and interviewed them, and then ended up casting a lot of them make up the bike gang in the film, so they became the kind of resource for us, and both for me and for the actors.
So for the actors, what do you remember about your first conversation with Harry about what this movie would entail, what it would ask of you, etc.? Harry, you want to start?
Yeah. So we met at the Picture House in London over a tea, and I had read the script, and I knew immediately that I wanted to do it. I don't think I said it immediately, but I knew that when we spoke. And yeah, we just spoke a lot about Colin, where he starts the movie on the precipice of wanting something but not quite knowing how to make himself go and happen. So that was a lot of the conversation we had. We also spoke about hopefully there being something optimistic about his outlook on life, which was important to hopefully get an audience to root for him and want him to succeed in this journey that he goes on. And I said, you know, if you want me, then I want to do it, and that was pretty much it. It was sort of from then on, really.
Alexander, how about you?
I don't remember much. It was a Zoom, and I remember that Harry was wearing a really cute sweater. It was before Christmas, and it looked like his mom had knitted him a really, really cute sweater. And I remember thinking, oh, that's a nice touch. That like the guy who wrote this Beat FM movie is sitting in his mom. Because I believe you were at your parents', right? Was it?
In my mom's kitchen.
In your mom's kitchen. in a very, very cute knitted sweater.
Camera,
yeah. Yeah, to give a little softer approach. I don't have any recollection of the actual conversation, but I was smitten. Clearly, I mean, because I wanted to do it after that. I don't. Do you remember what we talked about?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I do.
You remember that?
Alex was it was like sat in pitch black, other than his phone light.
It's like Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now. Moving through shadows.
Incredible contrast between the sweater and the jacket.
Well, I was going to play an enigmatic character, so I thought it'd be good to kind of be a little enigmatic in the Zoom call.
And I remember we spoke about football for 30 minutes, and then we spoke. I don't know. Then we spoke about the script for 5 minutes, and then we just shut off the Zoom, and I was left just waiting. I don't know. I don't remember. I remember you also were like, you know, said, okay, this sounds great. I'll, you know, talk to you later, and then that was it. Yeah.
It was a great call, guys. It was a really good.
Easy, yes, I can see. And then you two did not meet or speak until 2 days before filming, is that correct? So you really got thrown in.
Yeah, I was with these guys, Chris and Paul Weitz, who did Murderbot with me. We were in Toronto shooting, and these guys started, so they did a week of the family stuff, and then I came in and joined, and it was like 2 days before we started shooting, and we met on the mat as we were about to rehearse the wrestling scene. So that's when we shook hands for the first time. Not only that, we did a lot more. Great icebreaker, great way to get to know each other. But we had it. I didn't really feel in prep. I never felt the need to talk to Harry. There was something quite interesting about not talking to Harry about the relationship, but instead having that exploration happen in front of the camera, and so neither one reached out to the other. We kind of showed up and then started, because again, so much of the dynamic is Colin trying to figure out what Ray wants out of him, and what this relationship entails, and being guided through that. And it was quite fun to go into those scenes, not having discussed them much, but rather than just jump in and see what happens.
Harry Melling, we had spoken before this film premiered, and I remember you were talking about, to use an example, good looking, and playing a sub to who does not know how to do that means that you as an actor kind of know how to do that, to do it badly. I wonder if you could talk about that.
Yeah, so I had an in-depth bootlicking session, which was fantastic. So yeah, I went up to Cambridge, met this wonderful kink group, which are they're incredibly generous, and I asked them the question, you know, what is a good bootlick? And they said, let me show you. And they sort of took me through all the different things that I need to look out for, you know, what part of the boot to, you know, pay particular attention to, what you need to sort of, the connection between the person that, the boot that you're licking, and so it was really fascinating that there was a real art form to doing this well and correctly, and to making it, you know, making it satisfying for the person that you're doing it to. And then, of course, in the scene, I had to do the exact opposite. So I had to sort of work out, okay, what would a bad bootlick be, and then that's what you get in the movie.
Beautifully, terribly bad. In terms of the actual relationship between these two men, how we see it unfold, how far did you want to push it? Like, how did you kind of negotiate that as you went on?
In terms of what aspects of the relationship?
Yeah, like what you wanted to show in terms of the sex.
In terms of the sex, I always knew that I wanted like the film to not seem prudish. I thought that like it was very important that like when, both because Colin's kind of actualization happens through sex, you need to see it, but also when you're making a film about like transgressive or in some way marginal sexual practices, then I thought it would feel like a kind of judgment by me as the director if I didn't show that sex, if I just kind of panned away from it or used ellipsis or whatever. And then, but then at the same time, I didn't want it to just be like a kind of moment whenever there was sex on screen. You know, to like, I think you can have fun with like the provocation of sex, but it becomes quite an old joke quite quickly if you're just like using a close up of the dick to get a laugh from the audience. And so we shot some stuff which was more explicit, and then in the edit, I like pulled back on certain shots to try and find that balance between like prudishness and kind of empty provocation, and so it's still, you know, I wanted it to feel truthful without feeling like exploitative, I guess.
Yeah, I think you strike it really nicely, and this is your first feature, so I'm also curious just how much you had to think or thinking about the fact that, you know, you want people to see this movie, what those kinds of considerations were like, even on the more commercial side.
I think that I mean, I knew that I wanted the film to not just appeal to like an underground queer audience, and it wasn't actually about the sex at all, it was more about the tone, and that it was the tone which was my way of like trying to invite an audience who maybe wouldn't necessarily run to see a BDSM film into the film. You know, I liked the idea that that, you know, my mum, who like, as far as I know isn't in the BDSM game, would go and see the film and be surprised by aspects of it which she found moving or relatable, and so, you know, that was my intention. It's always a balance, isn't it? Because I didn't want to sort of water it down to kind of placate the mainstream, but I definitely wanted to introduce the film and the world of the film to people who wouldn't necessarily run to see it.
In terms of the sweetness, I think we can safely say is between these characters, ultimately, did you two find it was there from the beginning? Did you find you were kind of discovering it as you were working together?
I think it was all in the script, really. It was so carefully drawn, the journey between these two people, that it was just very much a case of turning up and seeing what the scene presented. Really, yeah, there wasn't a particular moment where I thought, oh wow, we're onto something here. It just sort of the momentum felt very easy, and it kind of just sort of flowed throughout the 6 weeks of shooting. Really.
For me, it was the moment I looked into your eyes.
I'm not lying.
Yeah, I felt I was like, this is gonna be good.
Did you find?
I thought you said, did you fuck?
Well, you do know the answer.
Fine.
And that's here. that your perception of Ray was maybe challenged a little bit as you were seeing this relationship unfold.
Very much so, yeah. Because we hadn't talked much about the relationship, and like I mentioned earlier, the discovery happened in front of the camera. My idea, the Ray that I had created in my head in pre-production was quite altered by what happened on set, because I would often, at the end of the day, a day I would often be surprised by a specific direction it would go in. I would, maybe I had mapped out a way I thought it would go, and then it would be completely different, and that changed my thoughts on Ray as well. And it's quite exciting when you can be open to that, when you discover new things, and that changes your perception on not only the relationship but also the character you're playing. It's quite thrilling to have those moments and kind of just playing off of what Harry gave me in those scenes. Made it very dynamic to me.
Harry, did you find that as well?
Yeah. Yeah. It's often they're the most exciting, well, from my experience, they're the most exciting moments when you sort of fall into something. You fall into a moment that surprises you. Sometimes you need to talk about how a scene's going to operate and work, but when you don't, it means that you're not ever reaching for something. You know, you're not going, oh no, this is the moment where we kiss and we're upset about kissing, whatever. It's whatever happens is the thing that you accept on the day. And that was, often you'd start the day and you'd end the day thinking, wow, I really didn't think that particular moment was going to be that way. And again, that would inform your next day in terms of what that scene's going to be. So it was a lovely, journey of discovery between these two people.
I want to ask both Harrys about the singing. I think that sound really kind of bookends the movie in a fascinating way.
You want to ask me about singing?
Well, I'd be happy to.
Thanks a lot, dude.
Do you want to share?
No.
I'll put you on the spot. So, where did that come from? And then I'm assuming you had known that kind of Harry could bring that, but talk us through that.
Yeah, could he bring it? No, he did. I remember thinking that in the book, Colin and his mum are into Mensa. I don't know if you have Mensa in the US, but it's like maybe it is a US thing actually. Yeah, Mensa. And I wanted to have a more dynamic cinematic equivalent of that, and something which felt totally at odds with the world of bikers, which is like superficially quite like cool and hardcore, and I love the sound of Barbershop. I think it's quite like lame with a capital L, like Barbershop Quartet, and so it seemed like a nice way of having like another subculture or kind of microculture in the film, which sat in distinction, but then also gave Colin something which he could be good at. It's like the only thing he really excels in, I think, is Barbershop, and initially, before he becomes the world's best sub, I knew Harry, I wanted Harry actually before I came up with the Barbershop idea, but I was then very relieved when I watched a film called The Devil All the Time, and he sings a duet in that, and he has a lovely voice, don't you?
Ish. It's a lot of work for the Barbershop stuff because the harmonies are so close to each other that it took weeks and weeks and weeks to try and get it half decent. So yeah, thanks, Harry.
You got there. You mentioned some of the club members are kind of populated in the film. So I'm curious, just in terms of your own experience, Alex, like how you found working with them, if there was any kind of wisdom to be gleaned from them being in your orbit.
Well, they were instrumental in setting the tone of that world, and obviously in the orgy scene and all the scenes with the bikes, the whole excursion that day. But also helping out from day one. They were, for both of us, kind of everything from talking about their relationships to bringing great props to set that we can use. It was, we owe it all to those guys. were fantastic. So generous, and also it's important to portray them as individuals and not like they're not all the same. It's not like one size fits all. It's and to show that, like Harry mentioned earlier, also the sweetness, the tenderness, the camaraderie, the friendship. I love the moment after the orgy and when they're sitting around the bonfire and cuddling and the sweetness of that, which also separates our relationship a little bit from them because again we're not really tactile, physical with each other. But again, they're not all the same in terms of preferences, and that was very important to show.
Last question. This is again your debut feature. What did you learn about yourself as a director coming out of this movie?
What did I learn? I think that like I'm very neurotic, just generally, and I was like surprised by how much I enjoyed shooting the film, the actual shoots of it, because I think in my experience of doing shorts when you only shoot for 3 days, my neuroticism was just always there. And it was nice to like learn that actually I do enjoy doing it. I mean, I've always like loved filmmaking. It's obviously it's kind of what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, but I found it like very terrifying, and I learned that actually you can kind of get past the terror and enjoy it.
Awesome. We'd appreciate you all staying seated as we do have to make a quick exit. But thank you all so much for coming.
Thanks so much, guys.